New York Chamber of Commerce is strength in numbers, helping small businesses, and truly, look around this room, diversity. I am privileged to run the Greater New York Chamber of Commerce, and I couldn't do it without my staff. We have Jordan here, who is helping us with reception, and Elena Nat, our Executive Director. We have our board members, George Hulse from Emblem Health, Howard Teach, a prominent attorney and civic activist. He's our chair this year, so let's give him a double round of applause. And we also have our great past chair and co-chair of our Military and Veterans Affairs Committee, Colonel Terry Holliday. But on a note of housekeeping, I do want to thank Rita Ewing, past honoree from Massage Envy. Thank you for always being a great member of the Chamber. I want to thank Molina Healthcare. We saw them up in Albany. We did a trip, believe it or not, for Black, Puerto Rican, Hispanic, and now Asian American Pacific Islanders, all uniting to get a strong voice. I went up there with Frank Garcia, who works with a lot of the minority chambers. Thank you, Frank. That was a great trip. I want to thank Global Biz, who always gives us great coverage in the back. And of course, George Hulse from Emblem Health, thank you. So without further ado, Immigrant Bank is in the back there. Thank you. I don't know if Margaret Peck's here, a great member of ours. Without further ado, I'd like to bring up Colonel Terry Holliday to do the opening remarks.
Thanks very much, Mark. Again, Terry Holliday. I've been a member of the Greater New York Chamber for a bit. What, about 15 years now, right?
Yes.
Sit down. You don't have to.
Real quickly. First of all, I want to thank the General Society Library. It's been around the Society for almost 250 years, right, Terry?
Right, I think it's 280.
And
240.
This building's been here for over 150 years, so we're privileged to be housed in the building. But real quickly, I met Terry in this building right during Superstorm Sandy, because his office is downtown when he was Mayor of Veterans Affairs for the city of New York was flooded. And we've been fast friends ever since. He was the commissioner. Yeah. And again, a colonel, that's one under general. So thank you, Terry.
Okay. And look, it wasn't during the storm. It was after the storm. It was after the storm. And he was like so really great to be there. And I also became a member of the General Society of Mechanics and Tradesmen. If you get a chance, you should take a look online for both the Greater New York Chamber and the General Society of Mechanics and Tradesmen. There's a lot of really good things that they all do. I'm still serving as the secretary of the General Society of Mechanics and Tradesmen. And let me just say this about the General Society. This building is old. It's older than Mark. I can't really say that. I'm older than Mark too. But this building they use for a backdrop in a lot of movies, has been used in a lot of movies. Did any of you ever see The Affair? It was on HBO. It was a book signing thing, okay, that one of the characters had in there. I forget his name. And I'm like looking at this thing, and it was there. It was the library. It was the library that they had. They were in the Post, okay, about the Washington Post. They did elevator scenes. Who was it? Just a number of things that they've seen, both on TV, particularly rooms and upstairs. And upstairs is a lock collection that's well renowned, the Mossman lock collection. And I don't know, listening to some music and that, sets me off. What can I tell you? But in any event, this is a nice building. Look, today, I'm going to try to stretch this out a little bit because we're going to move the program around a little bit for the presentations. But when we talk about when we talk about history of the United States, Black history, activism, I think we should take a moment to reflect on Reverend Jesse Jackson with his recent passing. He was a giant. He was a giant. He did a lot of things for us, and I think if you take a look at the civil rights era and everything that you have there, you have people who were always in the background. And I'm going to give you a name that very few of you might remember, but A. Philip Randolph. Yeah. A. Philip Randolph is the name. The guy was a giant. But what I didn't realize until a few years ago, that he was the head of the Union of Sleeping Car Porters, right? So in that day, you didn't have televisions, you didn't have radios, you had radios, but you didn't have like instant communication. But what you did have were trains, and you had people who took the railroad, and these sleeping car porters were able to get people around and do stuff. And you found out that they were doing it. And this guy was very quietly a giant, and I need to spend a little bit more time reading about him. I did meet Jesse Jackson once in my life. And this, I think I was still in uniform, and I was meeting a general. I was meeting a general at the Sheraton Hotel, and as the general came down, Jesse Jackson came in, And when you're in uniform, you got to be sort of careful in terms of when you meet people, and you can't do things political. I know things are a little different today, but that's what you're not supposed to do. So in any Jesse Jackson, I walked up to Jesse Jackson, and I have to say something about this, but I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity, right? So when I was a commissioner, every time I saw a person of color, I would say, gee, are you a member of the Divine Nine, which were the fraternities and sororities that go back about 100 years, and, and so I go up to him, so I went up to Jesse Jackson, and I was thrilled to be with him. But mind you now, there was a photographer around, I'm still in uniform, and, I was younger, slimmer, that type of thing. So I guess it was a good photo op. So he and I were chatting. I said, hey, Reverend Jackson, I said, let me ask you, I'm a Kappa. Are you in Omega Psi Phi, another one? And he looked at me and he said, my dear Colonel, he said, I'm an Alpha. My GPA was slightly better than both of those fraternities. And the two of us, we looked at each other. I said, that was pretty good. And we started laughing and hugging each other in the middle of the Sheraton Hotel. But it was a very pleasant meeting that I had with him, and it sort of adds to my admiration of him as well. Well, listen, let me just sort of slowly get into what we're doing with the other thing. We've got a number of really great awardees that we're going to be meeting here today, and I want to be transparent with some of the things that I'm saying. I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi, which I told you, and I reached into Kappa Alpha Psi to get two of the nominees, and they'll be introduced separately. But I just want to let you know that, and I have remarks that we can make about that. But I think events like this that are not held in a government office and require government resources to make, I think we need to do this. I think it was Jesse Jackson that said this, that when we take a look at our society, we're this broad mosaic of people. I mean, a broad mosaic of people. It takes people of all ethnicities, races, cultures, and that's what makes us. That's what makes New York, all right? And when we take a look at a lot of these things that are disappearing today, it's disappearing because it's just disappearing because people don't understand or want you to forget. Frederick Remington, the artist and sculptor, okay, and some of you will remember this from your history books, your high school history books. Frederick Remington traveled with the cavalry after the Civil War. He was out west, and he did a lot of traveling, and he was working with the 9th and 10th Cavalry. I think it was the 10th Cavalry, and these were units of the Buffalo Soldiers. All right. So when you take a look at his works that he did, his paintings, some of the sculpture, you don't see people of color. All right. There's a very nice picture, and I'd like for you, if you have a smartphone, look for it. I think it's Major Dodge. Major Dodge and his troops to the rescue. All right. And you see this line of cavalry folks coming at you, and they're coming to save you, just like out of the John Wayne movie. All right. It's called Major Dodge. All right. Well, the true name of this thing was Major Dodge and his colored troops. All right. That's part of history. Okay, I studied history in school. I wasn't a very good historian. I've become better since I retired because I read more. All right, but we need to find out about these things. All right. Now, in 1949, and I know nobody here was born before 2000. Okay, but in 1949, the Air Force started. I'm retired Air Force. Okay, and the Air Force had this thing called Red Flag. They still have Red Flag. And I participated in one, my unit, we flew tankers, we would refuel fighter jets and bombers as they went into a test and everything. But that was about, I don't know when that was about 2000, I think. But in any event, in 1949, it was a gunnery and bombing competition that these wings had, that these flying wings had. And again, you're talking about 4 years after World War I. Well, they went in, they did, and they had a winner, and that was it. We never heard anything else about it. And then it morphed into this really big thing today, Red Flag. It's almost like Tom Cruise, the thing with Tom Cruise when he had Top Gun, where they go to the school, I think it's out in San Diego, and they go there and they learn these things, and they game each other. They have dog fights, they do different things. And they get graded on these things. Well, and so they had this thing in 1949. That was it. About 10 years ago, okay, 1949 to 2015, let's say, I'd have to double check. Someone does some research at the Pentagon, and they find some stuff someplace, in some like old banker's boxes someplace, a trophy. And they found out that the folks who won the competition were the Red Tails. All right? The Red Tails. And somebody hid the history. Someone just hid the history, and that was on a big scale. All right? So, in any event, they have it, it's out there and stuff, but these things are important. Okay, we have awardees today that we want to say, you're doing a great job. But this gives us an opportunity. I wrote this quote down, I was looking for something. It says, when we talk about Black History Month, right? And I think this is what's missed down in Washington. And I'm trying not to say that to be political, but I am. Black History Month, it encourages ongoing dialogue about race, equality, and the contributions of African Americans to the fabric of society. I think that's important, okay? Those things are important. I was a liberal arts major. Okay, and as a liberal arts major, we're not the ones who build the atom bomb. Okay, we could probably got guys up there detonating it. It's like whatever, but we don't build it. But we're the ones who think about it. We're the people who are legal. We're the people who are philosophers. Okay, and that's where you have to go. So that's what we want to do today. Now I'm taking a little bit of time, but I'm not going to stretch it anymore. Okay, so in any event. In today's breakfast, we want to start recognizing folks.
Yes, I'd like to thank you, Terry. Yeah. And can we put our hands together for Thomas Holiday? And we know for the rest of your life, you're going to be on our board of directors and serving your country through the Greater New York Chamber of Commerce. So we appreciate you and thank you for everything you do.
When you give me this lifetime honor, please understand that I'll be 79 soon.
We're going to have one of our other board members. it's like Ronald Reagan said it the best. He said, you know, I'm not going to take advantage of the inexperienced and youthful. And truly, that's why we can help so many small businesses, startups, and entrepreneurs, because of our seasoned experience and passion. Just a quick story, because of Reverend Jesse Jackson's passing, we were privileged to serve on his Rainbow Coalition Push board. I met him at the Sheraton too, almost 20 years ago. And another of our former chairpersons who couldn't be here today because she's at the family celebration, I believe in Illinois, for the Reverend Jesse Jackson, served high up on his board. She was the chairperson of the New York City Rainbow Push. And again, that's all about economic empowerment for his community. And we've taken that mantle on. We want to help everybody with economic empowerment, jobs, and advocacy. So I'd like to invite the Arturo Rhymes to come up and grab a seat. I'd like to invite Brenda Braxton to come up and grab a seat. I'd like to invite Dr. Henry Thompson to come up and grab a seat. And Commissioner Camara, please come up and grab a seat. I think yours is on the very end there, Commissioner. I think we can take a moment and have a moment of silence for Reverend Jesse Jackson. And George, when the commissioner comes in, you can bring him down the way when he comes in. Keep your eye out for him. He's parking outside. So I'm going to bring back Colonel Terry Holliday today to introduce our Bill McCreary Legend Awardee. Bill McCreary was on our board of directors, and when he passed, we decided to give away the Bill McCreary Legend Award every year for somebody who's prominent in getting out news, real news. Terry?
For a lot of us in the room, did I not distinguish? Probably did. For a lot of us in the room, I have difficulty when people talk about things like fake news, this, that, the other thing. In the job that I had in the Air Force, I was dealing with some giants, Lester Holt, saw people. Walter Cronkite I didn't work with, but I read his bio. And when you see some of these guys, Dan Rather, when you see like a lot of these guys and gals who are out there getting the news, there's a special, they have to go through a certain routine to get it, to check it, to verify it, and it's there. And people take that lightly. And I wish people would pay more attention to it. But as we talk about, Arturo Rhymes, there's a lineage that's there, all right? And Arturo's a Kappa, a member of Kappa Alpha Psi. He's a graduate of Hampton University, and let's see, he still thinks Hampton is a Division I basketball. Let's see. And he has a graduate degree, let me see, he has a graduate degree from American University School of Communication, and his bachelor's was in English. Okay, so he had that, but when we take a look at Kappa, Ed Bradley was a member of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. Did you ever meet Ed Bradley? Okay, so Ed Bradley was there, and for the Secretary of State, I'm going to say it now before he comes in, Basil Patterson was a member of Kappa Alpha Psi of New York alumni, and in fact, my grandmother was in his grandmother's wedding party in Jamaica. You know, in the day, it was something else. But let me talk to you a little bit about Arturo. Arturo was named executive producer of the Daily News at CBS News in February 2024, and he overseeing the news coverage across all platforms. He's an award-winning journalist. He's been with CBS since 2005 and covered major domestic and international news events during his career. He was an executive producer of CBS Evening News, plus a role he has held since the show premiered in February 2025. He's an award-winning journalist and producer and has been at CBS again since 2025. He's also served as executive story editor for the CBS Evening News with Norah O'Donnell and co-senior broadcast producer of the program. During his career with CBS News, he has produced and led teams covering major domestic, international, and breaking news events ranging from the aftermath of Katrina to the unrest of Ferguson and papal visits to Cuba. All right? He joined CBS in 2005 as a producer at NewsPath and soon moved into a producer position on CBS Weekly News and then CBS Evening News in 2011. He joined CBS after working at NBC, MSNBC, CNBC, and CNN. His work has earned him numerous journalism awards, including DuPont, the DuPont Award for CBS News coverage of the Newtown, Connecticut school shooting, a news documentary Emmy for CBS Evening News, multi-part series on the National Guard's Challenge Academy, and 2 Delta Sigma Chi Awards and multiple NABJ Salute to Excellent Awards. I give you Arturo Rhymes.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Thank you, Terry, Mark, and the entire Greater New York Chamber of Commerce for this honor. One thing Terry didn't mention was the fact that I'm born and raised in Chicago. Even though I've been in New York since 1995, I still am a Cubs fan. Unfortunately, I still detest the Knicks, but that's just the way Chicago people are. But Terry talked about sort of where I've been presently. But growing up in Chicago, I experienced a number of the sort of challenges that young African American men face. Grew up in South Side of Chicago, in Bronzeville. Public housing, dodging all of the entrapments that comes with that, growing up in the 80s and 90s, and when people point to sort of where I am and where I've come from, I always think about my mother and this sort of expectation of excellence that despite where we lived, she instilled in us. And so she used to always say, never take credit for things you're supposed to do. And so what she meant by that is she wasn't going to allow our circumstances or the narrative around those circumstances to dictate who we are. And so we were supposed to excel in school. And so when we did, she said, that's nice. We were supposed to go to college and graduate in 4 years. And we were supposed to excel in our given profession. And so because of that, it's a little awkward for me to stand here and accept awards for what I've done, because I was supposed to do those things. But as Terry mentioned, in my career, I have risen to at least the highest sort of ranks of journalism within CBS News, being able to guide editorial direction for the network. And so it is a privilege for me to be awarded the Bill McCreary Legendary Award because I knew of him and the work that he did. And for those who didn't know, Bill entered journalism in 1967 as a trailblazer of his time. And he neared, for decades, he was a voice for the voiceless, holding people accountable for those so now we are at a time when that work ethic and determination as a journalist that he provided is essential even today, as we've seen a number of things as we celebrate Black History Month. We've seen racial progress begin to be rolled back. We've seen history starting to be erased, and words like diversity and inclusion have become under attack. And so the work of a journalist today is to challenge those perceptions and challenge those sort of movements, because our job is to sort of hold a mirror up to society. And while we may not be able to answer that question for you, it's our job to pose it. And you, as the public, says, is this the society that we want to be or should be? And I'm reminded in that task that in the Constitution, journalism and the press are the only civil process profession that is protected in the Constitution. And the reason why that is because the founders wanted, knew that a free press, a press that could challenge them, was the source of how we would keep our democracy. But the strange thing about that is it's not journalism's job to save democracy. It's up to the people. And so it's our job to make sure that you have the information, the facts, the unvarnished truth, so that you can make those decisions. And so it is an equal task of the press and of the people to work together in order to keep this democracy alive. And so I'll end with a number of you, Mark and Terry, talked about Jesse Jackson. And I had the privilege of interviewing him a number of times. One time, well, a lot of you in the chamber will remember he had his Wall Street project. And one of the things that he said that I remember him saying is his job is to motivate us to be the society that we ought to be, to live up to what Martin Luther King said was the promissory note of our country. And so I leave you with one, being humbled at accepting this award, but also with the mission and challenge in your own endeavors to make this society what it ought to be. And so thank you once again. Mark, congratulations.
So, we are going to move right on because we have some great honorees, and thank you very much.
Picture here.
Yes, I guess I was going to save the pictures for the end, right? And so we can move the program along. So I want to bring up to recognize our next honoree, Brenda Braxton, our chair this year, Howard Teach. Please come on up.
Good morning, everyone. I want to start by giving a bit of recognition here to Mark Jaffe and Helena Naff. They've run this organization in a way that's extraordinary. And being chair just for a few months and being on the board a number of years, watching what they've created, nobody can even imagine how hard they work and what they do to bring everybody together and to provide so many activities throughout the year. This is just one of 100, 200. It's unbelievable. So a real round of applause for them. I'm supposed to keep this really brief in the introduction. I'm going to use the privilege of the chair just for a second for a couple of comments, because I think it's important listening to what we've heard. When the word mosaic was mentioned by Terry, I couldn't help but think of Mayor David Dinkins, because he looked at the beautiful mosaic that was New York City, of all the people who come together, and the way that we dealt with each other. There was nobody who I admired more than David. And people didn't recognize his ability to deal with so many people in such a respectful way. And looking at the list, and I hope you do that, of past honorees here, I see people who are near and dear to me who aren't with us, people like Roscoe Brown, Hazel Dukes, Charlie Rangel, and others, who we should be thinking about this morning as we're doing this. I was saying earlier to Brenda, one of the last times that we were in some kind of performance situation like this, I had a political group and I had Ron Brown as the speaker. Ron, former Secretary of Commerce, one of the great Americans, and she was singing the Star Spangled Banner, and I can't help thinking about people like that because they've been heroes to us, legends in the Black community. And so a morning like this, we really have to think about all those who came before. I've had the good fortune over the years, and this isn't by anything but just a sense of my, and I always say I didn't walk the walk, so I can't quite understand it, but involvement with this community and why I admire Mark in putting this together over the years. I go back many years. When I was in my 20s, I was on the Boys Choir of Harlem Board. I chaired a Leroy Neiman Children's Arts Council up in Harlem over the years. Part of the All-Stars Project with Lenora Fulani, who was a dear friend. And seeing what's going on and now being on the board of the National Action Network with Rev. It's an incredible community. Needs to be celebrated. Each of you need to be proud about who you are, who we all are, and what we've created in this city, in really bringing people up. One last comment was a good number of years ago, right after the Crown Heights situation. I had the good fortune a month before to become president of American Jewish Congress. So my hands were full, and they brought us together with leaders of the Black community to try and work things out. And they said, as the Jewish people sit here and the Blacks sit over here, and I said, I won't do that. I've worked together with them. I refuse to be on the opposite side. And I think that's a lesson for all of us as we're listening this morning, that we're all one community in New York, and this is a celebration of everybody. Of the Black community. And so I congratulate Mark and Terry in pulling this together in terms of what it is. I have the great privilege this morning of introducing someone who I have enormous admiration for. Her name is Brenda Braxton. She's not only one of the leading actors of our time, being on Broadway in terms of having gotten a Grammy and Tony Award in Chicago, in Smokey Joe's Cafe, so many other things in the movies, TV more recently, which I'm not going to say because she probably is going to talk about it and what she's saying. And most importantly now, in terms of this audience, she's an entrepreneur. She had a fabulous place up in Harlem for many years dealing with leading men in Harlem. And it was one of the incredibly entrepreneurial enterprises there, ahead of its time, really. And now with a product pause and a whole group of products, obviously, that she's going to talk about in terms of giving women a better opportunity in their lives for health, and you can see in the spirit of her face and her look, the dynamic of what it is. So, as someone said, and I heard, and it's the best way I can introduce her, God was showing off when he created Brenda Braxton. So, Brenda.
my living room window thinking, what's it all about, Alfie? Because of the stuff that's going on. And I got a phone call. And I said, hello. And Howard said, Brenda, so I've been thinking about you. And I was like, hi, Howard. We hadn't talked in years. And I said, hi, Howard, how are you? And we did all the pleasantries and all of that. And he says, oh, well, I am now, I'm working with the chamber, the New York Chamber of Commerce, and we're going to give you an award. And I was like, okay. I said, okay, that's nice, Howard. He said, yeah, and it's gonna be fabulous. It's gonna be on a Friday morning at 8 a.m. And I was like, Howard, you know me. Mama don't get up before 11. But anyway, I am so happy to be here. Thank you, Howard. Thank you, Mark. Thank you everyone. It's interesting because when he said we're going to give you this award for everything you've done, so much of the time, actors, I don't know about anyone else, and Black women, we go through life with our heads down and moving forward. We don't really stop to look at what we've done. We go from job to job and show to show, and we just keep moving forward. So when Howard said to me, we're going to give you an award for everything you've done, I literally had to sit down and go, wow, what have I done? Oh, I did that. Oh, yeah, I got a Tony nomination. Okay, I got a Grammy Award. Okay, all right, I've done 8 Broadway shows. Okay. And I was just, I was impressed with myself. But it was wonderful to be able to sit and go, wow, I have accomplished things. I've done some things that people are proud of me for. Howard has always been proud of me. He has always spoken wonderfully of me. And sometimes it's hard to realize that, yes, I'm in this world to do some stuff. You know, I am here for a reason. I am here to make people smile. I am here to be as fierce as I can be. And like Howard said, I had the first gentleman's grooming parlor. A lot of you gentlemen might know of it, called B. Braxton, Exceptional Grooming for Exceptional Men. That was one of my accomplishments, that when Howard said, we're going to give you an award, I said, oh, right, I did do that. I had that. And now I'm working on Pause, which is for women of a seasoned age. I will be 70 on my next birthday. So, yeah. So thank you. So again, I sat down and went, oh yeah, I'm getting ready to launch another business. Oh my God, I've done some stuff, you know? So this award is just, it fills me. I appreciate it so much. I don't take anything for granted because tomorrow is not promised to any of us. I love being in the room with all of you because being a theater baby, I don't get to be with grown-ups like this. You know, we're crazy theater people. And so I love being in the room with all of you and talking to you and seeing what you're doing and being among these amazing people. So I appreciate it. I don't take it for granted. I thank you. And I see from the corner of my eye that Mark is standing. So usually in theater they start playing the music now, right? So thank you so much for this award. Thank you.
I can hold the rules, so we're going to take a moment and do some individual props. So if anybody wants to, George or Howard or Terry.
How are we doing photos?
Yeah, I got an overrule. Oh, by the way, I hope you all can hear me. Well, I guess that's why I want to do this. We're going to take 5 minutes for photos. We can do it all at the end. So, real quick. So let me talk while we're doing this. We have Senator Kristen Gillibrand couldn't be here today. She'll probably be here for Women's History Month. Wrote you a nice letter. And we have the New York State Assembly also honored each of our individual honorees for today.
Okay, Mark, this is yours, right?
Right. That's why I'm the CEO. I was going to take these minutes for. Okay.
That's it? Okay, I'm going to sit back down then.
Let's bring you up again for a final curtain call with all the honorees.
Okay. All right.
Oh, by the way, I was born in August 1956. So let's have August 10th.
I'm August 7th.
My sister.
Years in the house.
Our mother had a long labor from August 7th to August 10th. Well, let me just do this. I want to welcome our next honoree, the Secretary of State, Walter Mosley. He's Brooklyn born. He attended Howard University Law School. And again, we mentioned David Dinkins today, another Howard University graduate. This sounds like a pretty darn good school down here in Washington, D.C. We also want to thank the Secretary for driving down from Albany and hosting and having a catalog of all the licensing and programs to help small businesses and entrepreneurs. We also commend him for his great time in the New York State Assembly, doing great work not only for the people of Brooklyn, but setting a model for people all across the world, particularly here in New York, the United States of America, defending our way of life every day. And as Secretary of State, Kathy Hochul made a wise choice. We look forward to working with you in this beautiful building to educate our entrepreneurs and small businesses more about the importance of licensing and creating good jobs for real people. So, Walter Mosley, welcome.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
I see Pastor Kennard from Brown Memorial Baptist Church, someone who I've known all my life for the most part. I interned with her when I was nearly in college, many years ago when she was in the city council, right? So it's always good to see a dear friend in better circumstances, right? But I want to thank everyone for being here on behalf of Governor Kathy Hochul, and as well as the Department of State. I want to thank the Greater Chamber of New York for your unwavering commitment to fostering equality, opportunity, and diversity within this vibrant city. I also want to obviously acknowledge President and CEO Jaffe for having me today, as well as our co-host, retired Colonel U.S. Air Force Terrence Holliday, Executive Director Helena Knapp, Jones Holtz, Emblem Health, my dear friend for so many years, as well as Chairman Howard Teach. This esteemed honor is especially meaningful because as we celebrate the centennial celebration of Black History Month, honoring a century of resilience, achievement, and lasting contributions of African Americans and Black Americans, not only here in the city and state of New York, but throughout our country and throughout our global community, has helped define us as a people, as a nation, as well as defining who we will be in the coming days ahead. A future that was helped shape by towering icons of civil rights, as so noted. We have highlighted the Honorable David Dinkins, but we also have to honor someone we just lost just a short time ago, in the Honorable Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson, who fought alongside Dr. King in so many ways, who fought against those institutions that wanted to roll back our voting rights, who wanted to talk about how he could be best utilized when it came to global negotiations. We talked about shaming corporations and their lack of corporate diversity and their failure to support civil rights. I will forever remember him for his courage and his moral voice, now more than ever. Sometimes we lose icons in times in which we have to elevate their message, now more than ever, and not take for granted what they did and in the midst of what we're going through. So oftentimes, even icons, when they pass along, when they transition, even in their transition, their iconic level in their contribution is highlighted. So, on behalf of the great state of New York, we pay homage to Reverend Jackson and his family, and the debt we could never, ever, ever pay back to him or his family. But as we celebrate today, let us also commit ourselves to the work that lies ahead. And we do have a lot of work that lies ahead, right? Even as we transition from this moment in time of this backlash, there's going to be a lot of work that has to come. There has to be a lot of due diligence. There has to be a lot of courage. And I thank the Chamber for the creating the true path of equity. And I say equity because equity and equality are not interchangeable. And for those who might not know this, you'll understand when you go home and you understand the definition of both equity and equality. But also justice requires ongoing effort, collaboration, and unwavering commitment to lifting each other up. So I encourage each of you to continue to advocate, continue to support change, support diversity, inspiring young leaders of tomorrow. For I can never be forever young, but I understand that if we can continue to uplift and educate and empower those who come after us, I think we will be all in a better place. These are the values that we honor during Black History Month and strive to uphold not only during this month, but every single day that we are on this earth. I'm humbled and proud to be recognized among some amazing trailblazers within these leaders in various fields and inspiring the next generation. So, on behalf of Governor Hochul and the Department of State, I want to congratulate Commissioner Camara, Ms. Rhymes, Dr. Thompson, and Brenda Braxton for all you've done and all that you will do in this well-deserved recognition. So again, on behalf of Governor Hadley Hochul and the Department of State, I want to thank you for this honor, and may God continue to bless the Chamber, and may God continue to bless the great city.
I'm going to take a moment, and again, this is from the New York State Assembly. I'm looking at these words, Secretary, and I can see why Kathy Hochul made a fantastic appointment. Throughout his career in public service, Mr. Mosley has demonstrated thoughtful leadership, sound judgment, and a steadfast commitment to improving the lives of New Yorkers. He now will be able to enhance civic engagement, oversee critical regulatory functions, and support local organizations across this great state of New York. Next up, I'd like to bring up George Hulse, one of my great board members. In fact, George was instrumental in helping to create the Bill McCreary Legend Award back in one of his previous jobs. He now serves as the senior advisor to the head of Emblem Health, the president and CEO. And wherever I go with George Hulse, whether it's to see President Barack Obama, and they weren't letting anybody in, and they go, "Is this guy with you, George?" And we got in to see President Barack Obama when he was in the city. So George, thank you for being a great leader at the New York Chamber. And could you please introduce our next awardee?
Mark, I'd be absolutely flattered. Before I do that, let me talk a little about Jesse Jackson. Mark and I, every year, would go to Jesse Jackson's conference here in New York City. And Jesse Jackson knew Mark Chaffee very, very well. And so when he talks about Jesse Jackson, it's not someone he's read about. It's someone who we've had a lot of meetings with. And so we've been a big supporter, and I know we both miss him. I'd be remiss if I did not mention something about Black History Month. We call it now Black History Month, and this is the 50th year celebration of Black History Month. It started as Negro History Week in 1926, almost 50 years ago, and almost 50 years after the end of slavery, by Dr. Carter Woodson, from West Virginia, and he was a PhD, the second black PhD to graduate from Harvard University. The first was a well-known black scholar, W.B. Du Bois, and Dr. Woodson was second. And this is a very special moment for African Americans, because this special moment was started because African Americans were all marginalized. The picture that Donald Trump painted of President Barack Obama was very common when I was a young person. That would not have even gotten any attention. And as a result of that, Dr. Woodson started Negro History Month to celebrate the achievements of African Americans. And now we've come this far. We've seen a black president, a black vice president, many US senators. So we've come a long, long, long way. So it's a very special moment for African Americans. It's a very special moment for me to introduce my good friend, Dr. Henry Thompson, CEO of the Community Health Center of Richmond. A strong expertise in healthcare leadership, he often focuses on preventive wellness support and community health. He's got an undergraduate degree from the University of Connecticut and Doctor of Science degree from the University of Alabama. And I know that our ancestors in Staten Island are looking down at Dr. Thompson this morning, and they're saying, when I came to Staten Island, I was an enslaved person. And I worked on the farms in Staten Island as a slave, picking fruit, picking vegetables. And now I've got my young son who is here picking doctors, picking lawyers, and picking accountants to work for me in the same county of Staten Island. You know, the first free blacks to live in Staten Island arrived there in 1829, almost 200 years ago. The first blacks were enslaved blacks. The first free blacks came there in 1829, and they settled on the South Shore of Staten Island. They were mostly from New York City. Staten Island wasn't a part of New York City then, Maryland and Delaware. And they landed in an area called Sandy Ground. If you ever take the Staten Island ferry, one of the boats is called Sandy Ground. And that boat of Sandy Ground is because of those African Americans who lived in Staten Island. So it gives me a great deal of pleasure and pride in bringing to the stage my friend, Dr. Henry Thompson.
Good morning, everyone. I can assure you that this was a 3-hour journey to get here from Jersey. And having a first grader and a fourth grader to get ready for school, I can tell you that that's the greatest joy of being. I'd like to thank the Greater New York Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to thank Colonel Hartley. When Colonel Hartley told me about this breakfast, he said, "Hey, I want you to be here." And I really couldn't tell him no. And so it was definitely a pleasant surprise to find my good friend here, George. This friendship goes back 16 years, more than 16 years, when I was first appointed as the CEO for the Community Health Center of Richmond in Staten Island. And if anyone knows anything about Staten Island, I was a complete outsider. So I was coming from Syracuse by way of Miami, Florida. And so our board, they made a decision that they wanted particular expertise to help turn around the center. So being a part of that transition has been part of my own life's work. And when you talk about disparities, you can go to certain communities where there's zero disparities. And then you go to other communities and there's significant disparities. So part of our goal has been to eliminate health disparities. In the process, we will reduce them, but the goal is to eliminate all health disparities. I had the pleasure of going to a meeting in January where the governor of the Virgin Islands gave the keynote speech, and he said something very interesting. he had just traveled to Africa, and he was coming back, and he said, hey, one of the things that he recognized is that the #1 public health issue in the world, it's not AI, it's not access to equipment, it's not cell phones, it's not access to doctors, nurses, medical assistants, pharmaceuticals, all these things that make up the healthcare industry. But the #1 public health issue is access to clean water. And when you compare that to the West, hey, we use our clean water for toilets, to sprinkle our lawn, wash our cars. And so it put things into perspective in the work that we do, to make sure that we take the time to be humble for those things that we have, the prosperity that we've been allowed to achieve, and also to remember that we still have a ways to go. And those are the things that really drives us. I personally have been tremendously gifted and blessed to have so many people to pour into me as a part of my own growth and development, as well as to be an inspiration as we move forward. So to be among the honorees and distinguished guests here, it's not something that I was expect because as part of what I do, I still feel like I haven't accomplished anything. And so these are the things that drive what I do, it drives the team, and thank you so much for the opportunity to be of service. Thank you.
So it's really interesting. I'm looking at these citations from the, and they're individually done. And what they said here about Dr. Henry Thomas, you heard in his passion, but he has worked collaboratively with medical professionals, civic leaders, community stakeholders to expand services, enhance patient care, and respond to the evolving needs of the communities he serves. And that deserves a round of applause. Okay, so one of your remarks reminded me of a trip. We have a strong International Affairs Committee. We have one of the co-chairs of our International Affairs Committee here, Dr. James Kim, who's the operations chair of the Korean American Chamber of Commerce of the United States. And we are privileged to serve there. We also have one of the heads of the Hispanic Chamber throughout the state, Frank Garcia. So, and I believe we have a Bulgarian minister? Romanian minister. By the way, just save the date, May 19th, we're hosting our International Trade Week, and we're going to be inviting Emil Bocourt to come to that. Thank you. And I believe we have JAMPRO here, which serves Jamaica, and we're going to have a special award at the very end for the Caribbean community. Yes, the Caribbean American Chamber of Commerce. But right now, it's my job. Oh, I forgot my little story quickly. So we went to the U.S. Virgin Islands, and the mission was how do we improve economic development. So we flew down, we met with Dr. Brian Adams, the governor, and we went to St. Croix, which is not the typical island you hear about. It's the one that's underdeveloped, the one that is impoverished. And they wanted to know economic development tips. And mine were real simple. Let's get a direct flight. Let's improve the roads and make sure your marquee resort doesn't serve its food with plastic utensils. So we're here to help. We're here to help small businesses. And speaking of small businesses and international affairs, I have the privilege of introducing the New York Commissioner of International Affairs. Commissioner Camara has served nobly for over a decade. She's the first African female to serve in this role. We had the privilege to meet her, Helena and I, at a special meeting, and we have a whole agenda of programs and services that we're going to add to our almost 100 events and media events that we do a year to help more people export and import. But mostly importantly, what rang and resonated with me when I met you in your office was her passion to help the 172 countries and consulates here be good citizens of our great city. So, Commissioner Camara, will you please come up and tell us what Black History Month means to you?
Good morning. First, I want to add to the echo of thanks to the Greater New York Chamber of Commerce, Mark, Helena, and all the members of the Chamber. Thank you for this generous honor and for your leadership in convening business, civic, and community partners in service of our great state and our great city. I am deeply grateful to be recognized here today and to be among such distinguished honorees. To the other honorees, congratulations on the great achievement, and I echo the fact that though we've done a lot, we still feel like there's more to do. And that is the act of being Black and of being African and African American. Black History Month is a moment to celebrate achievements, but it is also a moment to reflect. And I could tell you that I am in a very reflective mode because it's Ramadan and I am fasting, but it's also because I am in a transition. And when you're in a transition, you finally get to stand and pause and think about what you've done. But today, as I was getting ready for this event, the word that kept on coming to mind was dignity. And so I will reflect on dignity. Dignity is steady and enduring. It is seen in how we treat one another, how we build opportunities, and how we choose to collaborate. More than that, it is also seen when we choose to collaborate rather than to compete when shaping the future of our city. Throughout my time serving New York City, dignity has guided how I approach leadership and partnership. It has meant listening first, building bridges, and recognizing that strong cities are built through strong partnerships, especially between the public and the private sectors. Businesses are the backbone of New York City. They create jobs, drive innovation, support families, and anchor our neighborhoods. And when our business community thrives, New York thrives. And a core part of my work has been to ensure that New York remains open to the world, welcoming international businesses, investors, and partners who choose this city because of its talent, its diversity, and global reach. Attracting international business is not just about economic growth. It's about reinforcing New York's role as a global capital where ideas, cultures, and opportunities converge, and where global engagement translates into local action and impact. And as many of you know, I will soon be stepping away from my role as New York City's Commissioner for International Affairs. But I do so with deep gratitude and optimism. I am proud of what we have built and the relationships that we have strengthened in order to advance New York's global standing, while also delivering real benefits for New Yorkers. But today, I also get to pause, like all the other speakers, to reflect on Reverend Jesse Jackson, whose life reminds us that dignity is rooted in hope and collective action. I also had the opportunity to engage Reverend Jesse Jackson, and we talked about the importance of building a bridge between the United States and Africa, between African Americans and Africans on the continent, and between the African diaspora globally and the African continent. And that is work that I hope to continue to do to support the legacy of Reverend Jesse Jackson. And so as I look ahead, I do so with great hope in this city, hope in its leaders, including its business community, and hope in our shared ability to continue building a New York that is inclusive, competitive, and globally connected. My commitment to collaboration and partnership will remain central in whatever comes next. But as I also was thinking about the way that I will close this speech, the great Dr. Maya Angelou came to mind, and so I want to close with her words. Dr. Angelou said, dignity doesn't just mean always being stiff and composed. It means a belief in oneself, that one is worthy of the best. Dignity means that what I have to say is important, and I will say it when it's important for me to say it. Dignity really means that I deserve the best treatment I can receive, and that I have the responsibility to give the best treatment I can to other people. So may we all continue to live in dignity and to allow others to live in dignity. Thank you again.
And again, let's thank New York State, our Albany representative working hard for her work. Commissioner Camara has helped ensure that New York City remains a bridge between local communities and the international community, strengthening dialogue and expanding opportunity for residents and partners alike. Mr. Kim, would you like to be in this photo?
And we'll do the photos from left to right. And we look right here. We'll start here and we'll go right across. All right. Here. You smile. You too. Yeah. Great.
Okay. I'd like to get a photo with all the honorees. Maybe we should come out in front. Behind?
Yes.
Okay, stay where you are.
Stay where you are.
I'd also...
And Mark, while everybody's getting in place, I'd like to also mention that our commissioner is one of the youngest commissioners in the history of the city of New York. So congratulations.
I also want to thank Dr. Jean Joseph, the president and CEO of the Caribbean American Chamber of Commerce. We have selected her as Chamber of the Year, and we fondly remember her previous predecessor, Dr. Roy Hastig. And we have a special proclamation for you, so will you please come up and be in the group photo? And we also have, and let's put our hands together for not only one gold medal hockey team, but two. The women and the men brought gold home to New York. We have skaters right here in the metro area that are playing professional hockey. And Anita Axel Jones is Entrepreneur of the Year. And we have a proclamation. Please come up for the group photo. And we gave her a special presentation earlier. And again, congratulations to the Caribbean American Chamber of Commerce for all the great work they do helping small businesses and build bridges. And I thought we were going to have another ambassador here. I know from the Cuban mission, they love to be part and trade with CARICOM, but I do not see the consul here. So the awards are going to, we're waiting for the new ones. You can maybe hold them. Yeah, that's fine. Bring the beautiful lady over here.
Oh, you're gonna take a sit down.
They're gonna hold the award. You guys want to hold? Oh, you know what you're doing?
No, not yet, not yet. We're gonna take some pictures. You see it? Yeah. One sit down, one stand up. Are we the center? Are we center?
We're center, yeah. Look at me.
Okay.
Not the Photoshop.
Yeah.
This is gonna be on the Chamber News.
Just Colonel Holiday and Howard.
Where, George? I mean, move a little bit this way, Mark. Oh,
Howard.
yeah, right there, right there. Right there, okay, wait 1 second.
Percentage.
Where's Terry?
Hello?
Excuse me.
I need a bigger smile. You know me. Okay, will you not protect? Thank you. Okay, we'll go home.
Terrence Holiday.
Okay, now the honorees, you guys can dismiss, and then the honoree is gonna hold your award, and then we're gonna take another shot. You're gonna stand and
I leave Mark here.
yeah, Mark can stand. Just tell what this one, my brother.
Oh, thank you so much.